it'd be really helpful from an employment perspective to give some sort of ideas about reasonable adjustments, because I think employers may be a little bit unsure about what they can provide in the workplace, how much it costs. I think they possibly could perceive that it's very time consuming, but from what I understand there are very simple reasonable adjustments that are minimal in cost. So perhaps you could give some advice to employers what would be really helpful in supporting people with a physical disability in the workplace. Perhaps you could help.
Perhaps if I can jump in here.
Yes.
As somebody who employs disabled people as well,
Right.
So I manage a team of people, and several of them have disabilities. So I think the main important thing is communication, making sure that we have a good relationship and we can talk to each other. So actually in the workplace we all support each other in every way that we possibly can, and we've got a really nice sort of relationship going within our organisation. But also there is access to work, which is something which is really not understood or known about, sort of the best kept secret, which is national government support to support people into work. So my PA, who I have, who supports me within my job with the elements of my job that I find challenging or difficult work that I can't do.
Yes.
That is available, and that is funded now through the National Access to Work scheme, and they can provide all sorts of different kinds of support, like an OT can come in and assess the working environment and make it recommendations, and can adapt the property or the workstation as is needed to meet the individual employee's needs.
Right.
And that there is, for some larger organisations, I understand that there is a charge for that, but it's not huge, I don't believe.
Right, okay.
And if you're a small organisation, actually all of that is funded, which is really helpful for the employee, but also for the employer.
Right. And so you've all got PAs, haven't you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so their wages are completely funded by the Access to Work scheme.
Yeah.
Yes.
Depends on the size of the business. My
Okay.
business, we get about 60% of the funding based on the assistance that I need. Because when I'm at work, I currently work 20 hours a week. It's difficult because my PA is not required to help me all the time. But I need to get there.
Yes.
I need some support with some basic things while I'm at work. So Access to Work will fund that, and then my employer funds the rest, because that person then does some HR, does some payroll. Over the years we've had a bathroom put in, we've had lifts put in. Access to Work does have quite a large budget per person.
Right.
And tapping into that is quite important. But it's improved my premises. It makes it more accessible for everyone.
Right.
And I'd certainly recommend Kent Supported Employment. I found fantastic locally, being able to get disabled people in on a work placement, and there's no cost to the business, and then that kind of work trial with an assistant that then supports the person with a need, with a supported need, and just eases that transition, and then fades away into the background. We've got our first lad starting with us for full-time employment, hopefully when COVID's over in the new year.
That's awesome.
And I've not only do I have a PA, I've also had equipment provided by Access to Work as well. And as I said before, I've worked for Silk for nearly 14 years now, and my needs have changed over that time. So when my needs have changed, I've gone to Access to Work, said this has happened, this has got worse, and they've come out again, done a reassessment, and I've got other bits of equipment, or my PA hours have been increased as needed. A couple of years ago, I had an accident in my car, and so my car was off the road. I had to drive a highly adapted vehicle. The courtesy car was not adapted at all, but I could get my wheelchair in. So my PA had to drive me around more than normal. So Access to Work gave me some extra funding to cover that. I've got a bespoke office chair in the office that was built around me. That was done last year. So, the Access to Work is very adaptable.
Okay, so in general, if you don't access the Access to Work scheme, what other, I'm just thinking from an employer's perspective, just to sort of support their, knowledge here, what other things could they do? Because if they think it could be quite time consuming and costly, what other things could they consider, just so they feel reassured that to employ a person with a disability, it's not going to be as hard as they possibly perceive it could be?
I think that's where access to work actually comes in, to take away that stress and that cost.
Right.
But I think ultimately it's about having a conversation with that disabled person, allowing the disabled person to be as open as possible. But I think there's a bit of a fear from disabled people themselves. If I disclose my condition or disability, is that going to put me at a worse, on a worse footing?
Yes.
And I think not making assumptions as well. So, having that conversation, that open dialogue with the disabled person, what is there anything you need? How can I support you? But I know I keep going back to it, but access to work is key, in my opinion.
Okay, but then you're saying that open conversation, so that very respectful, polite, sort of normal.
The perception that disabled people want more time off for sick leave.
Yes.
If you look at the statistics, disabled people take far less.
Yes.
And are often more driven to get to work. And that's a very sweet statement, I know, and I'm potentially biased. But if you imagine the barriers to employment are quite low, most of those are perceptions. You break those down, you've got someone that wants to work for you, has less sick leave, is supported through access to work. There's no reason not to. You have to give it a go to start with.
Yes.
I think that, I don't know if this is just me or everybody, but I feel that I have something to prove. So I put in a hell of a lot of effort to make sure that I do my job, I do it well, and I put in, that if there's anything that I find difficult, then chances are I haven't let that slip outside of my little bubble. So I make sure that I can do it, and I make sure that I get the support that I need to do my job, because I feel I have something to prove, and I need to prove to society that actually I'm as capable as anybody else.
So I suppose really just to finish, obviously thank you for all your time today. It'd be really lovely if you could just share with us your kind of future aspirations. What amazing things have you got planned, and you're going to tackle, and what have you sort of got planned in your diaries for your future?
Like the other two, I love to travel. My own personal ambition is to visit every continent. I've got one left, which is a biggie, but so at some point in the future I'd love to go to the Arctic.
The Arctic, wow.
Antarctic.
The cold one. Andrew?
Again, it's travel for me. I'd love to take my little one to America. He watches YouTube a lot, so he's picking up accents, and next year hopefully we've got plans to do Florida, Washington, New York, just generally hit America.
Cool.
So that's the
American road trip. Sounds awesome, doesn't it?
I think for me, I'm going to do the same, travel. I'd love to travel the world a lot more.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.